Hey, it's your favorite Dr. D back for the fall with Stepping Forward on Dr. D with blackdoctor.org for culture and science and running unite. And it's my pleasure to welcome everybody back. This is part two of our established guests, Dr. Stephen Bowie, Kashila Lloyd, and Elmani Biney, who will be joining us shortly. We also want to know where everybody's hailing from. What type of runner are you? Did you just start? Are you a marathoner? Did you do 5K? Are you a triathlete? We want to know it all because running can be for everyone, starting at different stages. So I'm going to bring both of my guests on, Kashila Lloyd and Dr. Stephen Bowie. Hi, guys. Welcome back.
Hi there.
Again.
And Elmani Biney is going to be joining us shortly. He had a little emergency, so we're going to get him at his best. So, how was your summer? Everybody's been running over the summer and keeping in shape?
Yes. So I've been in summer marathon training. So I'm actually running the Berlin Marathon in 8 days, September 21st.
Amazing.
So I'll be running the Berlin Marathon. So my summer required a whole lot of summer training, which is not ideal because the temperatures are usually hot.
Yes, it
But
is.
I had some long runs that I had to do on vacation, which if you're a runner and you train, you know that vacation doesn't stop the training. So I definitely had to do some long runs when I would rather have been sitting on the beach having a cocktail, but do what you have to do. But it was a good summer nonetheless. But yeah, excited for my upcoming race and getting my training done.
Fantastic. Dr. Bowie, tell us where you were this summer.
Well, a lot of traveling. I just came back from another medical mission in Vietnam. We did some surgery for kids, and
Nice.
like Cecilia was saying, that running is part of our lives, right? So we run wherever we are, and I really enjoyed it. I actually just came back from a walk with my daughter, and actually now learning to enjoy walking. Which is wonderful because that's what American Heart Association recommend everyone to do.
Count me
So
in if you want me to join you on that. I'm a walker, a runner. I don't know. You might catch me because I'm not a runner, but definitely a walker. We want to give a shout out to Leon Williams from New Jersey, who ran first marathon in Brooklyn. Congratulations. And is running another half in Philadelphia. So let's start with some of these good questions because I always say I admire runners. I love the adrenaline you have. I love the dedication. I love the purpose. Ladies first. So to Kashilia. Kashilia, you've been doing Black Girls Run, which is a movement in and of itself for health and fitness. How does a community empower new and seasoned runners? Because I think that tell us a little bit more about Black Girls Run.
Yeah.
How you
So
think
I
that
think
community is-
Black Girls Run has been around. I can't quote the exact number of years now, but was started really just to bring Black women together to run and create community. So there's local Black Girl Run groups all throughout. So I'm in central New Jersey and also North New Jersey. And it's hopefully the idea is that gives people a chance and opportunity to join in. I always found like when I started running with others was really helpful. Like you can run by yourself, and I'm good at running by myself now. But in the beginning, it was good to run with other people because one, talking to someone helps the time go away and the miles seem not as long. And two, it's just good to realize that like you can, no matter what your pace, someone will be able to run with you. And that I think is what the community brings, is that nobody feels left out. Like if you walk, someone will walk with you. If you run at a 15-minute pace or an 8-minute pace, there's someone there that's always going to be with you along the way. And that I think is part of that, the beauty of the community is having others that are there with you in that journey. That saying goes, right? If you want to go, far, right, go together, right? So I think that's the whole premise of Black Girls Run, is like to propel people, whatever your goals are. Some people join just because, to your point, they just want to be healthier. It's not about I need to run races or get marathon world majors. And other people do want that. They want to improve their
I'm like,
pace.
that's Dr. Bowie. What are you talking about?
I know, right? They want to improve their pace. They want to get faster. They want to improve, their races. So I think you have everybody along the spectrum, and the community is open to that and welcomes everyone.
Fantastic. So with that being said, I'm going to ask a question to you. How do you encourage? Because, a lot of people and women, I particularly, running, we have to worry about so many things with running. I think even more so than men, and we'll get into that. How would you encourage? Like, I'm not a runner. I tell everybody that I admire runners. I'll take care of a runner. But how would you encourage a beginner runner who may feel intimidated? It may be that they're very overweight. It may be that they're uncomfortable wearing workout clothes. It may be that parts of the country are warmer than they like it to be or colder than they like it to be. All these factors.
Yeah.
What do you do to encourage a beginner runner?
I think the thing that I have done, and I've definitely been the one friend, and if my friends are on, they know I'm the friend that have gotten them to run when they've been like, I don't want to run. And I always tell people that you can run, you can walk. Like, there is no prescribed, as I like to say in quotes, way to like do running. You do it the best way you that fits for you. So I say to people like, okay, you don't feel like running. Well, then go out and walk and then jog for 30 seconds and see how that feels. Right. And then the next time jog for like a minute and see how that feels. And if that feels okay, then continue to progress. And that's what I tell people. And in terms of like, what to wear. I mean, I have found, right. And if you've been, buying workout gear over the years, it has gotten immensely better. And when you see people of all sizes, shapes and colors, there is a company or a brand that will work for you. Like I have high-end stuff and I also have Old Navy pants that work really well. So I don't think that like wardrobe or feeling uncomfortable with your body is something that should discourage you, because there are things that will make you feel good in your body and yourself, and there's clothing and brands that do that. And so I think there's always things that you can find. And I remember my first time running, I just put on some leggings I had, and like I had some sneakers. I didn't buy any special sneakers, and I just went out there and did it. So don't feel like you need to have a kit or all these different things. You really can get out and just run and walk any way you see fit. And that's what I tell people and my friends who I've gotten to run 5Ks. I'll work on you, Dr. D. I'll work on you. You're going to get there. You're going to get there. I've gotten people there. I've gotten people
now,
there.
Let me put a disclaimer, because Sheila is also my sorority sister. So she, we're going to see what happens. Okay. I might be leaning.
You can do a little run walk. We'll do a little run walk and we'll make it work. But yeah, I mean, I think if you're thinking about running, I say, just go out there and try it. Just do it. Like there's nothing stopping you, and don't think it needs to be, you need to run for 30 minutes. It may just be 10 minutes and that's totally fine. The goal is to just get yourself and have some movement.
Sounds great.
You can hide, Dr. D, but you have to run with us one of these days.
Listen, I want everybody to be a witness. If I'm dead somewhere in Pennsylvania or New Jersey, you know who caused it. Tell my mom and dad, okay?
Because they will say never, right? and what I say to people is, they say, "Oh, I'm not a runner." No. Let me qualify that. You're not a runner yet. Okay, so Dr. D, you're not.
We're going to get into some of the medical things on that in a minute. Don't worry, I've got you, Dr. Bowie.
All right.
I want to say hi to Dwight Williams. We're not sure where you're hailing from, but good evening to you. So, Dr. Bowie, since you're taking me there, I'm going to take you there, okay? Uh-oh. So, I love that you are a ultra marathoner. You're probably a triathlon decathlete. I don't even know if I have all the things. But you are all that. Tell us a little bit about how you run, and then I'm going to throw a medical question at you.
Yes, that's a great question. It's a transformation story. For me, at the beginning, it was running for my life essentially, because I was diagnosed with prediabetes, and I have a choice of taking a pill or changing my lifestyle, right? And as a pharmacist, I know how drug can be a double-edged sword. So I chose the alternative, the healthier alternative. That's how I started running. But when I started running, it was a different mission. And then I got hooked into running. Sheila might know about this because she's doing one of the major Berlin Marathon.
Which is amazing.
That is a major. And it's addicting because you once you accomplish a marathon, what I say to people is, you're half crazy if you're able to run a half marathon, and you're certifiable crazy when you run a full marathon. It's a bug that you can catch, and at that point, it's neuroplasticity. which means that our mind changes. At that point, I never imagined I could even run a half marathon. And here today, I've accomplished a lot. And, everyone, when they're on that journey, you will accomplish things that you would never imagine. And so your brain changes.
I'm
And
sure I imagine being, please resuscitate me back to life.
So at that point, when I was hooked on running at that point was the performance things. I was trying to run faster. I'm trying to run as many marathons as possible, and that was my high. But as I keep on running, now I'm transitioning to a different place, which is, it's great that you have the performance running, but at this point is the second part of running for my life, and this part is running for my enjoyment of life. So at the beginning is how to live longer, how to be healthier. Now is how to live in a way where quality of life, or I want to extend my health span, not just my lifespan. And that's the purpose. So now I run with a lot of different intention. Even like during the run, I feel like I'm at a meditative state, and ultra marathon would allow you to do that because you're not running at a pace. Like if you run a 5K, for me, 5K is probably the hardest thing because I run so fast that I cannot talk. I cannot even talk to another person, right? Because that's a different pace. When I run a marathon, I can talk to somebody while I'm running. But when I'm running an ultra marathon, I really take it all in. The nature being present and running at a slower pace because we have a lot of distance to cover. So that's my running career, so to speak, in a nutshell.
I'm going to ask you a medical question, but since we have Omani Biney joining us, welcome, Omani. So you're an ultra marathoner too, and I admire that. Like I said, y'all looking at me like, can we walk somewhere first? But Omani, ultra marathoners are extreme to a lot of people. What are some of the biggest challenges that you face with your feet, since this is about foot health? And then I'm going to bring Dr. Bowie in to comment on some of the medical aspects of that. You run with a group of people. You can tell us about that. What are some of the things that you think your feet and ankles feel? Elmani?
Thank you for that. And hello, everyone. I would actually say that it is challenging because you're on unbalanced terrain. Mm-hmm. When you're an ultra marathoner and adding in, I'm a trail runner and a mountain runner, you're over rocks, you're over roots, you're over all of those things. And so what happens is that you have to be cognizant of the type of running shoes that you wear. Because if you have incredibly sensitive feet, if you're always unbalanced there, how it's affecting your plantar, how it's affecting your heel, your foot strikes, all of that can leave your feet very sore. When I finished a race, and actually even with some training, sometimes I get foot cramps. Sometimes I have difficulty taking off a sock or taking off a shoe because my feet will cramp up. Mm-hmm. So those are some of the challenges. And then if I could just say this also, and then you also have to watch your arches. One thing right now, I'm recovering from quadricep tendonitis that happened because of an imbalance that I had in my left leg. Why do I have that leg imbalance? Is because my left arch was incredibly weak, mm-hmm. right? And which was another part of the problem. And then when you're an ultra marathon and you're training, you're putting on so many miles, you don't necessarily see it. But once you build up mileage after mileage after mileage, because I was averaging before my last race, the race I was supposed to run that I had to pull out of, I was averaging anywhere between 150 to 200 miles a month of running. And when you're running with a very weak arch and foot strength, that can come back to haunt you, which it did for me. So those are some of the challenges that you have.
So let me throw it at Dr. Bowie. So Dr. Bowie, now we're going to talk the medical. Let's get down and dirty. So tell me, Dr. Bowie, what are the most common, and I will comment accordingly of what I see, but what are the most common foot and ankle injuries you see in runners? We heard Omani's story. And then talk to me about some sneakers that you like.
All right, Dr. D, that's a very good question, Almani. I think you're pointing out a lot of the challenges that long distance runner faces, right? We face the challenge is repetitive injury. So when you're running a mile, that's 2,000 steps, repetitive, one foot in front of the other, and even the small minor issues, it will get blown out, and you will recognize it. So walking is very healthy because if you have some issues, it won't come to surface because it's not a lot of pounding going on and not creating a lot of stress on your body, and especially trail running. It's a lot of movement to balance yourself, balance your body, and need that stability all the way from your feet all the way up to your head. So one of the very common injury in people that run is tendon ligaments, right? That's what keep us springing, bouncing. And in the foot particularly, and this is, I address a lot of foot, ankle, leg issues. One of the most common injury, and it can be debilitating for runners, is plantar fasciitis, or commonly known as heel pain. And so that's one of the most common, and one of the reason that people get that because they have weak arch, weak foot muscles. So that's one of the things, and if you don't work from the foot all the way up, meaning the start from the foundation, what other issues that you can see is it manifested in somewhere else, like your quads, your hip, your knees. Actually, your knee is one of the things that take the brunt of it if you are compensating from a foot condition. So some people have plantar fasciitis. They change their form. They run in a different way that start hurting their knees. Yeah. So, those are the things that are all related to this repetitive type of injury. And I would say in all the running injury that I see, plantar fasciitis is one of the most common and one of the most challenging to address because we have to address from multiple angles.
I agree. And sneakers, and then I'm going to throw it back to Kashila in a second.
Yes.
Everybody's always like, Doc, what kind of sneakers? I have an opinion. And before we go into that, when I see runners, I think the biggest thing that I see is you guys have the worst. You get turf toe sometimes, which is the end of the big toe being stubbed, depending on the type of sneaker you're wearing and the type of gait that you have running. Or the type of the gait, meaning the type of way people are running and how their heel and toe strikes. A lot of times we see patients bleeding. I remember that when I used to work with the New York Marathon, bleeding nails. I mean, nails falling off. You'd be like, ooh, what's going on there? That's icky. Minor fractures because you're getting or broken bones from the repetitive hit, heel strike. And if you're not doing it correctly, then you're taking excess pressure in certain parts of the bones and joints that just can't handle it. Definitely heel pain. Everybody's got heel pain. Again, same reasons. And then the arch pain, which is posterior tibial tendonitis, a tendon that inserts into your arch and goes up into your knee. A lot of times flat-footed people versus high arch, your strike and the type of shoes you wear should be different to compensate or help for that way you are. Otherwise, you're going to have those problems. So Dr. Active, Dr. Bui, what are your favorite sneakers? What would you recommend to the public?
So that's a really tough question because during the transition, so when I was a new runner, my feet were not very strong. So I needed stability. I need a lot of support. So this is what I recommend for new runners. And of course, you have to start working on those muscles within your feet as well. And you can look it up, online and to see all different exercises, because when we go to the gym, we all work on the bigger muscles, but we don't have an opportunity to work on the smaller muscle in the foot, which, create the stability for your running. So I do recommend more supportive and protective shoes, sneakers. So the one pair that very popular brand is called Ultra, Lone Peak for trail running. I really like those. But the Hoka also make good trail running shoes as well, very cushioned for new runners. Now, as you progress, as your feet get stronger, then you don't need as much support as if you're at the beginning. So minimalist type shoes you can handle. Your feet get stronger, you don't need to rely on the shoes anymore. So then you have the the natural shaped shoes, and some really strong runners can get into shoes like almost like barefoot type of shoes.
Which is
Vibram
what
Rock
people
sneakers.
try who
Yeah,
have never run before and end up in our office about to die. They
yes,
like, oh, I saw that, I'll use it. Elmani was running in them, or are you Elmani? Do you ultra stay in
that's
your lane?
right. So
So
if you're
start
on that
off with
journey,
the better sneaker first, so I knew it, because you're going to
good
be
supported
seeing podiatrists.
sneakers, protective. So protect your feet from the rocks, the roots, all the things that can injure your toes, your feet. So that's my approach or a recommendation for a runner from beginner, intermediate, and more advanced. They can try, different things that help them run more efficiently.
I agree. I like Asics for some of my runners. I know patients are like diehard on some of the Asics. Hoka has come out newer. People like that. There's some of the Nike brands. New Balance has always been a staple because New Balance can accommodate custom inserts, the orthotics. And that's one of the things that we like for the American Podiatric Medical Association. So if there is a discrepancy in the way you roll in too much, which is pronating, or you roll out too much, which is supinating, or you have an antalgic or a gait that's not right, the orthotics are the only things that really can compensate for that. And, New Balance is one of the better sneakers to be able to handle that insert. And Hoka, I would say, is another one. So with that being said, I'm going to throw it back because Sheila still want me to run. And I told you all she's my sorority sister, and I'm still giving her the bombastic
You
side
gotta
eye.
run.
However, since you're saying that, we talked about, pardon me, Black Girls Run. What role does a community like Black Girls Run play in long-term health and wellness? Because we're seeing a lot of running clubs coming up for a variety of people, for couples, for singles, for being Black, for being Asian, for being, maybe just, where you live. And like we have, when Elmani takes us on our trail walks for West Orange, what do you think that these community-based running groups, or even, corporate-based running groups are doing for the community?
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the things I think is important is representation, right? I think it's all very important. And obviously in your fields, both of you are doctors, seeing people who look like you doing what you're wanting to do or looking to do is always really important. So I actually feel like those community groups are great because I think the more that people can see people like them running or walking or doing movement, the more encouraged that they would feel, and the more that they feel like it's something that I can do. And I know that was really important to me when I started running. I was just running, and then I saw through Black Girls Run, women that I met were like, I just ran a marathon. And I'm like, ooh, I don't know if I would ever do a marathon. They're like, you could probably do a marathon. And I was like, well, if they can do it, maybe I could do it. And so, it is really important. And I love the community of the run clubs. I recently did a 5K with Peak and Pace, which is a Brooklyn run club that's all about, I'm Jamaican,
Shout out to
Caribbean heritage.
Big up to the Jamaican.
Exactly. All about Caribbean heritage. And it was an amazing experience. It was different than when I run with Black Girls Run, but it was just a great experience to have just those different types of community groups to run with for those different types of ways you want to feel. And like I was running with my flag, and it was just fun, right? So I think, they're really important to make the running be very inclusive. I think, sometimes people say you're a marathoner, you're the 1%, and that kind of does feel like exclusive. And I love that these groups are here to make running at whatever level you do it, whether you just walk around your block or you're going to run like an ultra marathon, feel like it's something that you could do for yourself for whatever reason. So I love them. And I think the more, the merrier. People have to find what works for them.
Sounds good. So I'm going to go into Elmani, and then Dr. Bowie, I'm going to make you answer this question. So Elmani, I'm going to ask you this question. How do you prepare your body and mind for endurance running? And then Dr. Bowie, I'm going to ask you a medical question off of that. Go ahead, Elmani.
Okay. Let's start mind first.
And before you start, we just want to give a shout out. I see people are logging in. Thank you, Alma McIntosh. From TUCC and guests in Chicago. And Shannon David says hello. Continue, Elmani.
All right. Literally, mentally, it's two things. One, it's about keeping it simple, one foot in front of the other. Because the thing you have to be careful of as an ultra marathoner is, even in training, not even the race, but even in training, is you don't want to visualize the entire race. The brain does not know the difference between whether you've run or whether you're just visualizing it. So if you get caught up visualizing, if I'm out and I'm doing 20-mile run in South Mountain Reservation and it's 20 degrees outside, if I'm visualizing all of that, I'm already putting my body through undue stress. So what I
My
have
body just stressed out hearing about it. So.
yeah, so what I have to do is I simplify it. And then, but also what I do is I always remind myself and I give myself I honor and appreciate Mother Nature allowing me to run on its land. And I take the time, and this is, I hear a lot of, especially African Americans say, I don't want to trail run, I don't want to do, all of that. And I feel for people because I'm like, you're missing out on some of God's greatest beauty. Like when I did my 100K, and people like, you did 100K.
Let's still go slowly through that. Say that to the public again. Say it to the people in the back. You did how much?
100-kilometer race.
And it was a race at one time. So 100 kilometers is about how many miles for those who don't translate that
one? Was 62.5 miles.
Okay. And the 0.5 I'm crying about, he did an extra 62, so he's amazing.
And it was great, but I got an opportunity to run through and under 13 different waterfalls.
That's amazing.
And and that's the part I think with trail that I wish people would take the time. Like I've gotten an opportunity to be in some of the most beautiful places. So we talk about mind preparation. It's also about appreciation of being in that land. And then when you talk about body, with that is, and especially Dr. Blue, you talked about this. You're not out there trying to PR. Now, a race is different, but when you're training, you're out there really trying to just find your flow. You're trying to keep your body as less stressed as possible, as less tensed up as possible. And you have to absolutely, with ultra marathon trail, you got to get your ego out of the way. Your ego can get you hurt badly. And so, sorry about that. So physically speaking, it's about taking time. I went out with my boy today at South Mountain Reservation, and we were doing 14-minute miles, but we were having a great time, having a great conversation. Can I run faster? Yeah, I can do, on trail, I can do 7-8 minutes a mile. Why? You don't need that. And the last thing I'll say is also the 80-20 rule. 80% of your runs should be easy. And I get worried with people, especially new, when they're always trying to PR their training runs. You won't make it to the race doing that.
Good to know. So, Dr. Bowie, question for you then. Gait for everyone is the way you walk. So how can you explain how the way you walk and the way your body moves, biomechanics, how does that affect running performance and injury risk? Give us a little information on that.
Wow, that's a big subject. That's involved posture, the way you walk, and everything else. The way the whole body in synchrony working together. And let's start from the ground up, right? The way you strike the ground. So there are things that is good, and there are things that is, there's. I do gait analysis for people, for runners, for walkers, and for a runner particularly. There's certain type of running that we looked at that and we say, okay, so this person is not if they're going to get injured, it's when they're going to get injured. So the type of striking your foot on the ground, and if you're running and you strike your foot in a way that it looked like a check mark, right? You strike your heel all the way down and your forefoot is all the way up like this.
What's the forefoot, sir? For those who are, I know what it means, but what's the forefoot?
So the forefoot is the front of the foot, and the hind foot is the heel. So
the back of the foot, the heel.
Back of the foot, and if you strike heavily on the ground when you run, and you can have your own friend videotaping you or just recording you from the side, you will see this. If you're striking heavily on the heel, that force drives up all the way into your knee, and your body take the brunt of that shock. And it's not if you're going to get injured. The more you run, the more injury you're going to get. The less you run, maybe less injury. but that's the type of running that you don't want. So you want to avoid that and work on, and that's usually because of tight muscle, ligament, tight calves, tight hamstring, and things like that. So running is involving conditioning your body, not just getting stronger, but flexibility and posture. Posture is very important as well. It's the way you move, and that is a little bit more complicated, and it will be on a different discussion. So now let's talk about the other two type of foot strike on the ground, which is midfoot strike and forefoot strike. Mm-hmm. So if you are striking your foot all the way in a forefoot, which is like almost running on your toes, that's not necessarily good either. Now, some people, with their biomechanic, they run like that, and some of the professional runners do run like that as well, but their body has been trained for that. For a new runner, if you're running all the way on your toes like that, you're more prone to get what they call bone bruise in the joint below your toes. So that's another risk as well. So the safest way for people to run, especially running starting out, and this is why you need to condition your body, work on flexibility, is try to land as flat as possible. And this way it allows shock to be absorbed to your knee, your hip, rather than transferring that shock from your heel to your knee to your hip and all the way up to your spine. So that's very important in terms of how your body works in synchrony. Now, of course, we got to talk about the other aspect, but I think more importantly for this podcast, I think, we were talking about from the foot, from the ground, and the ground reaction force that allow us to run and push away from the ground. Those are the important part in terms of helping your gait and helping your running more efficiently.
I agree. I see, even when we have patients in the office who will say, just let me see you stand. And you can see the pathology, meaning, as we talked about, the way their arches, sink or roll in, or they roll out, or they're knock-kneed, for letter, which is the big word is called genu valgum, or they're bow-legged, genu varum, or they, look like a stork, their legs bagged out, genu recubatum. We notice all that. We watching you. Some of that, people think is cute, and I'm like, not necessarily, particularly if you're going to engage in something that's running. You got to correct those biomechanics or the way your body is. Otherwise, you will absolutely be injured. Quick shout out. I see who is saying hello to us. Oh, somebody's saying hello to Chantel Manning and saying hello. Almani and Kaushila. Jackie Onunu says hello. Emily Magnault from South Carolina says good evening. Michelle West from New Jersey says hello, as does Shannon Davis says hello. Hello, everybody. We love that you're supporting us. So, Kaushila, okay, you're still trying to convince me to run, and I'm side-eyeing you like this. So let me ask you a question. Give us, because you got to convince the audience, because there's people probably like either diehard runners like, yeah, and other people are like, girl, I don't know. Give us a success story. Particularly I love, I'm always going to say pro my girls. Give us a success story of somebody that started with you in Black Girls Run who was probably like me, like whatever. And now is a happy little lamb like you.
Sure. I could give a couple of success stories, actually. A good runner friend of mine, Lisa, I think she just started running, I don't even know, maybe 3 years ago. And she started running Black Girls Run with the same person that I had met. And now she's about to compete in her 5th world marathon. And that's in the matter of, I don't even know, maybe 3 years. So, I do think and I think Dr. Bowie alluded this, you do get a bit of a bug, right? To run a marathon means you're probably real crazy. And you sort of say all right, I'm going to try it. And then all of a sudden it becomes addictive. And it's addictive because obviously there's adrenaline and you're achieving something but there's also the community that rallies around you, that encourages you, that's super supportive. And that's just an amazing feeling that kind of encourages you to keep going. So I do think, and that's Lisa's story. The other story is my girl. And I was like, I'm going to do this 5K in Atlanta. She lives in Atlanta. Come on, you could do it. She came out. She didn't train at all. And I was like, don't worry about training. She tried to back out the morning of. And I'm like, it's okay. You can walk. And she did the 5K and she walked it for some of it. But she got a medal at the end and she was like, this is great. Now, she's also said she's probably never going to do it again. But I'm still working on that.
Because her body was crying.
Her body was crying. But, I love that she took the chance. She took the opportunity and said, I'm going to go ahead and give it a shot. And she did it the way that worked for her. She didn't run the whole thing. And I told her, you don't need to. You could just walk what you can walk. So, I mean, those are very different. Someone went from running a little 5K to 5 marathon majors, and another person's like, I ran my 5K and I feel good. But I think the community embraces all of that. But now, because she does that 5K, she also now walks more. Now she does, right? So it didn't necessarily get her to be a runner, but it got her to be healthier. Movement is part of my life now, because I've proved to myself I can move. Right. I may not can move at a 5K every other, all the time, but I can move. And that, I think, is a win, regardless of, if she never runs another 5K again, but she's now wants to incorporate more movement into her everyday life, which is good.
I think that's amazing. So Elmani, I'm going to throw this one at you then. So we were talking about oohs and ahs. Give us a story, the time your body or your feet spoke to you during a race, and how did you respond? And when we say spoke to you, that means those dogs were barking, okay? Your foot was killing you, your ankle, whatever it is, your leg. How did you deal with it? How did you respond during that time of running?
Oh my gosh, I could tell you exactly what it was. It was my first 50K race that I ran in Portland, Oregon in 2024. I had put on my support sleeves, my Achilles and plantar support foot sleeves, and I was running in them. But I made a mistake, and runners know not to do this. And the rule of thumb is never put on new gear or try new nutrition during a race. And I said, these are the sleeves. What I didn't realize is they were medium and not large. So at the 20-mile mark, I'm going to say 18-mile mark, my feet are killing me. They are like choking. So I had to I was like in great condition, but I literally had to sit down, take my shoes off, which was painful, take my socks off, which was painful, and then take the sleeves off, which was painful. But the damage was done, because even though I took all that off, it took me about 3 miles of limping and literally shuffling my feet. So instead of running like this, I was shuffling my feet for about good 2.5 to 3 miles just to get the blood flow back and just to get my feet back. Pain, absolute pain. That was brutal.
Kashila,
sound like you got PTSD from that.
I heard that PTSD.
Oh, I do. Oh yeah.
Kashila, add to the PTSD. What about you?
Oh, I feel like it's everybody's first. So mine was my first marathon, and I had been training. I felt good. I did not do anything new, but I think literally at mile 18, 20, and I did what all people do when they do their first race. I went out way too fast. I went out way too fast, but I was like, oh, I'm excited. Your adrenaline's flowing. I'm running. And about mile 20, my quad said, you are done with this marathon. And it was, what was interesting, I've never had quad pain. I've never had pain like that. So I was completely unprepared to how to deal with it. And as you say, it's a mental game, because I was like, oh, my quad really hurts. Like it really, and I had to stop. Like I don't normally I'm always like, I'm going to run. But I literally had to stop, and I'm rolling my quad. I'm massaging it. I look at my watch and I'm like, this pace that I was on, that pace, I had to say goodbye to that pace. And I just had to be like, I just need to finish. And it's so funny because when you look at, they do the race photos, like my first 20, I'm smiling at the camera, looking good. Like my race photos look amazing. I'm peace signing. Like mile 20 to the end, like I'm not even looking, I'm looking down on the ground. I'm not smiling. I'm looking like I just am like, I think I managed to muster up enough strength to be like, oh, I'm at the finish line. Let me actually look kind of good. But I will say that was definite. And everyone remembers, like I learned the lesson of don't go out too hard, too fast. regardless of how well you think or how you train, something's going to come up. And at that point, it's just really mental. And you just have to say, okay, and be okay with making modifications. Like I walked some, I ran some. I mean, I never knew like 100 meters would feel so long. I was just like, how many more meters left? I was like, oh, but I did finish it, not at the time I would like, but I finished the marathon, and I learned that lesson very well for my next one, and I did not go out too fast the next go round for sure.
There you go. So, Dr. Bowie, let me hear your sad. I don't know if you have a sad story, but if you do, share it, and then I have a medical question for you.
Well, all I have to say is some of us have to learn it for ourselves rather than learning from other people's mistakes. Kashilia, I had the same experience I did with you and many people, experienced people I run with, which I should have taken the wisdom from them, telling me that your first race, you have to run slow at the first half at least. And just like your experience, I felt like, boy, I wasn't even running. My buddy was like, slow down. You can give it all at the end. And I said, I didn't feel like I'm running. I feel like almost like I'm walking. This is so easy. But you're right. At mile 18 to 20, and in running, we call that the wall. Yeah. Because I think there's a science behind all of this. Your stored glycogen is about,
okay, now if you're going to use medical terms, you got to break it down for the people.
Okay, so glycogen is stored energy in the form of similar to glucose in your muscle, your liver, and all of that, right? So when you expend all these, glycogen storage energy, and if you don't build it properly, and when you're new, you don't build it up properly, you run out and your body's screaming at you. You have to stop, otherwise you're going to die, or feel like almost you're going to die. And so that was my experience. It wasn't my quad, it was my hamstring. It felt like somebody took a knife and stabbed into it, and I could not run anymore. I had to walk. I had to stop actually and rub it down, and it was just so much pain. And then at that point, I'm like, I should have listened, but it was too late. I had to walk maybe 5-10 minutes. So that is one of those lessons that you will never forget for the rest of your life. And that helped you become an experienced runner to minimize injury. So, the rule of thumb is if you're going to run a race, you always run a negative split, meaning that the first half should be slower than your second half. That's a safe way of doing it. So if you break it down, the first half marathon, even if you have to slow down or walk, because whatever your planned race is, the first half to be slower. Otherwise, you're at a much higher risk of getting injury, especially when you're not experienced. So that was my painful experience or lessons.
Well, I haven't ran. The only experience I can share is I always remember going up the Great Wall of China, and it's a walk, right? And I was excited, and I guess we did it twice. And day one, I wore my appropriate sneakers. Day two, I was cute, okay? And I had on my sandals. I don't know what happened, but I hit probably halfway point, and I was like, I'm going to die right here. They're going to see me from space, this little black dot going down the wall as they roll my body down. Because I was just like, I simply cannot, and interior China had not seen African Americans. So here I am, natural curly hair that was reddish and couldn't walk. And they were just like, who is this person? Like I was a whole anomaly. And everybody was looking at me and I'm like, yeah, it's me. Hi, no, I can't, ni hao. I'm like, I cannot walk. And, these older people who walk all their lives up and down looking at me like this little punk, It was so embarrassing. So with that being said, Dr. Bowie, this is important. And I think sometimes I've seen that in marathons where people do not look for the signs because I can do it. And then we have some medical issues. What are the early signs that runners should look for that signal that they need medical attention?
That's a good question. And this is very important. I think Dwight Williams just had a comment on that I'm reading right now. She talked about, or he talks about.
He's running. We see you, Dwight. Yeah. Do it, Dwight.
And he said, no, you don't want to have to hear me panting. Well, that's one of the early signs, right? So if difficulty breathing, and if you're running too fast for your pace, you will have difficulty breathing. That's the first sign. Listen to your body, right? Listen to your feet. So that is your cardiovascular system has limitations. So when you're not able to catch up, that's when you're panting. And Dr. D, credit to you. Great Wall of China is in very high elevation. The air is thinner. So that's
I'm
one of the
thalassememic. So you can imagine for those who are like, who? It's a type of blood disorder that you see a lot in Caribbean people, Mediterranean folks, where you're not getting as much oxygenation. So as you go to a higher level, it's worse for those people. And so I was like, I'm gonna die right here in the Great Wall of China. And they told us not to go through like I think there's 7 gates, and if you go through the 7th gate, that's to Korea, and they would just get you. I'm like, they don't have to worry about me because I'm not even getting to the 6th gate. I'm right at the 6th gate, and I'm like, let me just wave to it. And the 7th, I'm like, it's off in the distance. So I'm good, North Korea. Don't worry about me. But you're right. The panting, that when you cannot get that breath, is a major problem for us because we know that your oxygen stores are low. And that becomes a medical emergency eventually if it's not corrected. And yes, Anise Michelle says, listen to your body and your feet. Dr. Booty, tell us more things besides that. I know patients get nausea. I've seen people throw up running, literally, and we're like, because either you ate too much and didn't have time, you didn't eat enough sometimes, and your body, all kind of things. I've seen the nasty of it where I'm just like, yeah, you weren't properly ready for this race. So tell us about that and about the foot and ankle and leg issues that are big signs that you need to stop.
Yes. So the nausea and even vomiting, that's a tough one to gauge, right? Because like you said, if you have a big meal before you run, I mean, that's one of the things that why I don't eat before I run, because of, you can run into those issues, and you might be perfectly healthy and you feel nausea and actually throwing up. But if you haven't eaten anything and you train well and you push too hard, I mean, today I was training with a college student at a local college, and to try to keep up with them, I had to push myself hard, and my buddy is pushing even harder. At the end of the lap, he said, "Boy, I feel like I'm just going to throw up." Well, that's one of the signs that you're pushing way over the limit. You're talking about 95% of your limit. And you can do that for a very short period of time, not a long time. And when you feel like that, don't stop right away. My recommendation is walk it out. So you want to cool down a little bit to get your heart rate back to normal rather than stop abruptly, because you might not get up again. You might pass out. Because there's a reflex in the way our body works. So always, even same thing at the end of the finish line, if you see a chair there, don't be tempted to sit down, because I made that mistake and I got cramped so bad. And so that's the next thing. When you get foot cramp really bad, you cannot run through it. When you're getting a spasm, when you're getting a cramp, you can slow down, you can walk through it, but you should not running through it when you have a cramp, because cramping is your body saying like, hey, you're doing too much for what I'm prepared to do. Now, if you slow down, you choose to slow down, I will accommodate. That may go away, and not to push that pace again like that. So that's another sign and symptom. Another one is critical is when you feel chest pain when you're running. That's a big danger. Really slow down, walk, and be prepared to seek medical attention, or let the other people around you be aware of that. So that they know if you just fall down, they have to check your pulse, because that you can pass out, you can have a heart attack then, right? And men and women have slightly different. If you have, I think on women is pain going down their arm. Most men is the pain in the chest. So that's a big red flag to be aware. I hope that you don't have to face it. But once in a while, if you had a meal, depending on what you drink, sometimes indigestion can have similar sensations as well. So you have to be careful with that. But that's a red flag. Slow down and reassess yourself. that is a big red flag. This is something that can affect your life.
So
Go ahead.
let's talk about this, Dr. Bowie, and then I'm going to give it to Kashila and Elmani to answer one of these last questions. What can runners do? Because it'll come to us and say, what can runners do to balance training intensity with proper rest and recovery to protect their feet? Because you might have those who are like, I can just keep doing it until they literally can't and come into your office boohoo crying. And then there's some people who, especially beginners, who might be like, this is not for me. I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore because it hurts too much. What would your answer be?
That's a very good question. And this is critically important. So here's the question for everyone. When does your muscle actually build or grow? Is it when you're running or when you're resting?
Resting.
That's right, Elmani. You got it right. But a lot of people think that if I push harder, I run faster, or I run more, I will grow these muscles, get stronger. No. And this is why people that recover properly are people that get stronger faster. They're better runners. And I spent several months in Europe learning about your body recovery. I was certified as master trainer for recovery. This is critically important. The rest time. So for runners, most of us look for that adrenaline rush, right? Because you're smiling because we're all looking for that. But the time that allow us to grow, to get better, to get stronger is the recovery or the rest. And, that includes sleep as well. So that is very, very important. So, do it wisely. So there are things that you can do before a run, like, warming up properly, and after a run to recover properly, getting some massage or doing, currently I have and you see this in a lot of athletes, they have a compression sleeve to squeeze fluid from their leg after a run, or to go into these ice chambers and things like that. I mean, if you have access to it, great. If you don't, that's okay. You can use just something as simple as a foam roller, or the massage gun, or just proper rest. And the other component of it is nutrition. We'll save it for another talk. But all those things, all those components are critical for you to get stronger and faster. And people think that during the pressing stage, which is running, pushing, is when they grow stronger. You have to do the work, but it's during the recovery, during the rest, that's when you get stronger. So for those that pick those answers, they got it right, a gold star for you. And keep that in mind, because that's how you minimize your risk of injury, and you don't have to come into the office and see us as often.
Exactly. So I'm going to ask for some from Kashila and Elmani only, and keep it succinct because of time.
Yeah.
What I'll give ladies first. Kashila, what advice would you give to someone thinking about taking their running to the next level? Because you have beginner runners who are like, maybe I could go beyond a 5K, maybe I could do a 10K, or maybe I could try a half marathon. What advice would you give? And Elmani, the same question to you guys. Keep it short, sweet, and simple.
I would say find a coach or a friend or a group and get a plan. I think if you really want to, when I was training for my marathon, I got a coach. I have a run coach now. And it just helps if you have goals, someone to help kind of guide you, particularly if you're new and you don't know. And there's so many apps like Runner or different things that can give you training plans that you can use. So I would say find that and get a plan and follow that plan, because it usually is really helpful just to help your body just be prepared.
I like that answer. Elmani, what would you say?
I agree there. One, get a plan. Make sure the plan is a basic one. Don't push yourself to an advanced plan. Number two, study up on recovery. This is something that in my critique of the running community right now is, yes, we have the plans, but we are not as detailed for recovery plans as we need to be. So if you're stepping up, you need that. And three, I do believe in running with a group, and make sure you're running with a group that is knowledgeable about running, because they're going to be egoless and they're going to understand. And more times than not, they're going to run slower during the training than faster. And that's the last thing. Even though you're moving up, still stay slow. Stay slow.
I love it. This was a great discussion. You know, we might go on to a part 3 because people are liking it. So we'll see. We'll see, because I love this group. I want to say thank you to my guests and obviously to the participants and everyone who's watching. Give me your 30-second plug where we can find you. And we'll start always with the ladies first. Celia.
Hi, I'm Kashilla Lloyd. You can find me on Instagram, Yard Gal Cal, and I'll actually just drop in. I'm running the Berlin Marathon, so I'll drop in my joy box. So if you want to send me lovely encouragements, I'll drop that in the chat to definitely help. And I'm excited to run this race. I'm raising money for MMRF, which is a foundation for multiple myeloma. So I'm excited about that and being able to help other people and help drive trials and diversity within something that's a very rare disease for African Americans. We actually die twice as much from it. So super excited about that. So, yeah.
And if you send the links to me, we'll put it on my Instagram and Facebook so that people have it and can support you. Elmani, 30-second plug where we can find you.
Instagram at Elmani S. Viney. There it is.
And you run with?
I run with Black Men Run North New Jersey and Black Men Run Trail Ultra Fanatics. Oh, and also Sasquatch Trail Runners Club.
That's a whole lot of running. My knee just said, oh, Lord. Dr. Bowie, my colleague, my friend, where can we find you?
Yes, thank you, Dr. D. Yes, I'm on Instagram and Facebook at Dr. Active. And I'm actually heading out to Kenya next month. Doing another mission. I was hoping to run in Nairobi, and I asked him ahead of time, the guide. I asked him if I can run at the Nairobi National Park, and he said, "Are you crazy? There's lions, there's rhino out there. You're gonna run." Unfortunately, I won't be running at the national park, but I'll look for a local route, to run there. But I'll be out there, feel free to reach out and I'm running that. I mean, I will be doing a clean water project and running a medical clinic for the Maasai tribe. And
Nice.
I'm very excited about meeting these highest jumper in the world, the Maasai tribe. So I just learned something about that as well. So thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So if you could put your information where we can find you in the chat, because then people will be able to find you. So go ahead and do that if you don't mind. And my name is Dr. Cordai Dakota, board certified podiatrist. I am your host of the only talk show on Black.org dedicated to the lower extremity, where we talk all things foot, ankle, and leg and what's going on in your health. We are on the first Wednesday of every month at 7 p.m. through my website and through Black.org on YouTube, and of course, Talks with Dr. D. Talks with Dr. D. You can find me on Instagram, you can find me on LinkedIn, and you can find me on Facebook. And my website, Talks with Dr. D, which I'll put in this for you as well. It is my pleasure to have had you here today. And you always reach out to us. We're here to answer your questions. We're here all the time for you. That's what this is about. I look forward to next month. Remember, the first Wednesday of the month, 7 p.m. And thank you so much for your time. Everybody, leave a peace sign. Thank you. Bye, everyone.